Be me, 25-year-old marketing specialist living with my long-term girlfriend, Emily. We've been together since college, and I thought our relationship was perfect. We've got a beautiful 2-year-old daughter, Lily, who's the center of our universe. Or so I thought. I stared at the paternity test kit on our kitchen counter, my mind racing with doubts and fears. Emily had been acting strange for weeks, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. At first, I thought it was just my paranoia, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I had to know the truth. "Hey, Emily, can we talk?" I asked, trying to sound calm despite the turmoil brewing inside me. Emily walked into the kitchen, a look of concern etched on her face. "What's wrong, babe? You've been acting weird all day." I took a deep breath and pointed to the paternity test kit. "I saw this in your bag yesterday, and I couldn't help but wonder, what's going on?" Emily's expression changed in an instant. She looked guilty, and my heart sank. "Oh, that? I was just curious, okay? I didn't mean to worry you." "Curious?" I repeated, my voice laced with skepticism. "About what? Whether I'm Lily's father or not?" Emily hesitated, and for a moment, I thought I saw tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know, okay? I needed to know, and I didn't want to talk to you about it because I didn't want to hurt you." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "Hurt me? Emily, what's going on? Is she not mine?" Emily sighed and rubbed her temples. "I don't know, okay? That's why I got the test. I just need to know the truth, and then we can figure everything out together." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The woman I loved, the mother of my child, was questioning my paternity. I felt like my entire world was crumbling around me. "Why now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why after all these years are you suddenly questioning whether I'm Lily's father?" Emily looked at me, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and fear. Because I've been having these dreams, okay? Dreams that make me wonder if everything I thought I knew about our life together is a lie." I stared at her, my mind reeling with the implications. What dreams could she be having that would make her doubt our entire relationship? And what did they have to do with Lily's paternity? As I stood there, frozen in uncertainty, Emily reached for the paternity test kit and ripped it open. "Let's just do this, okay? Let's find out the truth once and for all." I watched in a daze as she followed the instructions, her hands shaking as she collected the DNA samples. I couldn't help but wonder what the results would be, and how they would change our lives forever. The wait was going to be agonizing, but I knew I had to see this through. For my sake, for Emily's sake, and most of all, for Lily's sake. I had to know the truth, no matter how shocking it might be. As we waited for the results, the tension in the room was palpable. Emily and I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the TV as it droned on in the background. I couldn't focus on anything except the impending results of the paternity test. My mind was racing with questions and fears, each one more terrifying than the last. What if I'm not Lily's father? What if someone else is? Who could it be? I glanced over at Emily, who was sitting with her arms wrapped tightly around herself, her eyes fixed on some point on the wall. She looked fragile, like she might shatter into a million pieces at any moment. I wanted to reach out to her, to hold her and tell her everything would be okay, but I didn't know if that was true. I didn't know if anything would ever be okay again. "Emily," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She turned to me, her eyes red-rimmed from unshed tears. "Yeah. What are these dreams you've been having?" I asked, my curiosity getting the better of me. "What makes you think they're connected to Lily's paternity?" Emily took a deep breath before speaking, her voice trembling. "I've been having these dreams for weeks now. At first, I thought they were just stress-induced, from work and stuff. But then I started to notice a pattern. In every dream, I'm with someone else. A man. And we're together, like, really together. And then I see Lily, and she's calling this man, Daddy. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead as I listened to her words. Who was this man? And why was Emily dreaming about him? What does he look like? I asked, my voice tight with anxiety. Emily hesitated, her eyes darting around the room before settling on mine. He looks like someone I used to know. Someone I thought I'd never see again. I felt a pang of fear and uncertainty. Who was this person from Emily's past? And what did they have to do with our daughter? Just then, the timer on the paternity test kit beeped, signaling that the results were ready. Emily and I exchanged a nervous glance before she got up to retrieve the test. As she walked back into the room, the test results clutched in her hand, I couldn't help but think about all the what-ifs. What if the test said I wasn't Lily's father? What if our whole life together had been a lie? I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss of uncertainty. Okay, Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. Let's do this. I nodded, my heart racing with anticipation. Together, we looked down at the test results, our eyes scanning the page for the answer to the question that would change our lives forever. The room was silent, except for the sound of our ragged breathing. And then, Emily spoke up, her voice trembling. It says you're not the father. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The room spun around me, and I had to grab onto the couch to keep from falling over. Not the father? What did that even mean? I thought back to all the memories I'd made with Lily, all the times I'd held her in my arms and called her my own. It couldn't be true. It just couldn't be. But as I looked over at Emily, I saw the tears streaming down her face, and I knew that it was true. Our whole life together had been a lie, and now we were left to pick up the pieces. As I stood there, frozen in shock, Emily's voice cut through the silence, her words laced with a mix of sadness and relief. Oh, God, what are we going to do? She whispered, her eyes fixed on the test results as if hoping they would magically change. I couldn't respond. My mind was racing, trying to process the revelation. Not the father. How could that be? I thought back to the day Lily was born, the way I'd held her in my arms and felt an overwhelming sense of pride and responsibility. I remembered the countless nights I'd stayed up with her, changing diapers and feeding her, the way I'd coached her through her first steps and her first words. It all seemed so real, so genuine. But now, it all felt like a lie. I don't understand, I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. How can this be? We've been together since college. We've built a life together. Emily's gaze shifted from the test results to me, her eyes filled with tears. I know. I'm sorry. I feel like I've lied to you, like I've betrayed you. I took a step forward, my heart aching with a mix of emotions. No, Emily, it's not your fault. This isn't your fault. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close as she sobbed uncontrollably. As I held her, my mind began to wander. Who was Lily's real father? Was it someone Emily had been with before me? Or was it someone she'd met after we got together? The questions swirled in my head, but I knew I had to push them aside for now. We had to focus on the present, on the fact that our lives were about to change in ways we couldn't even imagine. As we stood there, clinging to each other, I felt the ground beneath us shifting. Our whole world had been turned upside down, and we were left standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss of uncertainty. I knew we had to take a step forward, together, but I had no idea where that step would lead us. What do we do now? Emily asked, her voice muffled against my chest. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. We need to talk to Lily, I said, my voice firm. She deserves to know the truth. Emily nodded, her body trembling with sobs. But what if she doesn't want to know? What if she's happy with the way things are? I hesitated, unsure of how to respond. But as I looked into Emily's tear-stained face, I knew that we had to be honest, no matter how difficult it might be. We have to tell her, I said, my voice resolute. We owe it to her, and to ourselves, to be truthful. As I spoke, I felt a sense of determination wash over me. We would face this uncertainty together, as a family, and we would find a way to navigate the unknown. But for now, we just stood there, holding each other, and staring into the abyss, unsure of what the future held. As we stood there, the weight of our decision settled in, and I couldn't help but think about the potential consequences of our actions. What would Lily's reaction be when we told her the truth? Would she be angry, hurt, or relieved? The not knowing was suffocating, but I pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on the present moment. I'll go get her, Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper, as she pulled away from me. Her eyes were red and puffy, but a sense of determination had replaced the uncertainty that had been etched on her face just moments before. I nodded, watching as she walked out of the room, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I took a deep breath, trying to prepare myself for the conversation that was about to take place. My mind began to wander, thinking about all the possible outcomes, but I quickly reined it in, knowing that I had to stay present. As I waited, I couldn't help but think about how we had gotten to this point. The secrets, the lies, the half-truths, it had all been building up for so long, and now it was time to face the music. I thought about my own role in all of this, and a pang of guilt shot through me. Had I been too complacent, too willing to go along with the status quo? The questions swirled in my head, but before I could get lost in them, I heard the sound of footsteps approaching. Emily returned with Lily in tow, who looked curious, but also a little apprehensive. "What's going on?" she asked, her eyes darting back and forth between Emily and me. "We need to talk to you about something," I said, trying to sound calm, but my voice came out a little shaky. I glanced over at Emily, who gave me a reassuring nod. Lily's expression changed, a look of concern etched on her face. "What is it?" she pressed, her voice laced with a mix of fear and anticipation. I took another deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. This was it, the moment of truth. "Let's sit down," I said, gesturing to the couch. "This is going to be a hard conversation, but we need to have it." As we sat down, Lily's eyes locked onto mine, and I could see the uncertainty reflected back at me. I knew that in this moment, I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for Emily and Lily as well. I reached out, taking Lily's hand in mine, and began to speak, the words spilling out of me like a dam breaking. "Lily, from the moment you were born, we've been trying to protect you, to give you the best life possible," I started, my voice cracking with emotion. "But in doing so, we've made some mistakes, and it's time we were honest with you about them." Lily's grip on my hand tightened, and I could feel her trembling. I glanced over at Emily, who was watching us with tears streaming down her face. I knew that this was just the beginning of a long and difficult journey, but I also knew that we would face it together, as a family. The unknown was still out there, waiting for us, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of hope, a sense that we might just make it through this after all. As I paused, taking a deep breath to collect my thoughts, Lily's eyes never left mine. I could see the fear and uncertainty swirling in their depths, but also a spark of determination. It was as if she knew that what I was about to tell her would change everything, but she was ready to face it head-on. "Lily, you know that your mother and I have always been honest with you, but there's one thing we've kept from you," I continued, my voice barely above a whisper. "Something that could potentially put you in danger, but also something that could explain a lot of the strange things that have been happening to you." Lily's grip on my hand tightened even more, and I could feel her pulse racing. "What is it, Dad?" she asked, her voice trembling. I glanced over at Emily, who nodded encouragingly. I knew that she was thinking the same thing I was, that this was it, the moment of truth. We had to be careful how we told Lily, but we couldn't keep it from her anymore. Lily, you're different, I started, choosing my words carefully. You have a gift, something that sets you apart from everyone else. And it's not just a gift, it's a part of who you are, a part of your heritage. Lily's eyes widened, and she looked at me like she was trying to read between the lines. What do you mean? She asked, her voice full of curiosity. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. You see, Lily, your mother and I, we're not who you think we are. We're not just ordinary people, living ordinary lives. We're part of something bigger, something that's been hidden for centuries. As I spoke, I could feel the weight of our secrets lifting, like a burden being slowly removed from my shoulders. But at the same time, I knew that we were opening Pandora's box, and there was no going back. Lily's face was a picture of confusion, and I knew that she was trying to process everything I was telling her. What are you talking about, Dad? She asked, her voice laced with frustration. What's going on? I looked at Emily, and she nodded again. It was time to tell Lily the truth, to reveal the secrets that we had kept hidden for so long. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for the words that would change everything. Lily, you're a descendant of a long line of people with abilities, I started, choosing my words carefully. People who can do things that others can't, people who are special. And you, Lily, you're one of them. As I spoke, I could feel the room spinning around me, like the whole world was shifting on its axis. I knew that this was just the beginning, that there would be more to come, more secrets to reveal, more challenges to face. But for now, in this moment, I just looked at Lily, and saw the shock and wonder in her eyes. And I knew that we would face whatever came next, together, as a family. As I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in, Lily's eyes widened in confusion. She looked like she was trying to process a million thoughts at once, her mind racing with questions and doubts. I could see the skepticism in her eyes, the uncertainty that made her voice tremble as she spoke. Abilities, she repeated, her tone laced with incredulity. What kind of abilities? What are you talking about, Dad? I glanced at Emily, who was watching the scene unfold with a mixture of empathy and caution. She knew how delicate this moment was, how fragile Lily's understanding of her own identity was. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the words that would change everything. Lily, you come from a long line of people who possess gifts, I said, choosing my words carefully. Gifts that allow them to do things that others can't. Some can heal, some can see into the future, and some can even manipulate the elements. Lily's eyes darted back and forth, as if searching for some kind of anchor to hold on to. She looked like she was struggling to stay afloat in a sea of uncertainty. I could see the fear creeping into her eyes, the fear of the unknown, and I knew I had to be careful. What are you talking about, Dad? She asked again, her voice barely above a whisper. What kind of gifts? What can I do? I hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. But as I looked into her eyes, I saw a spark of curiosity, a spark that gave me hope. I knew that I had to be honest with her, to tell her the truth, no matter how difficult it was. Lily, you have the ability to manipulate light, I said, the words feeling like a weight lifting off my shoulders. You can create light, shape it, and control it. It's a powerful gift, one that has been passed down through our family for generations. As I spoke, I could see the confusion in Lily's eyes giving way to wonder. She looked like she was trying to wrap her head around the idea, to understand the magnitude of what I was telling her. I could see the questions forming on her lips, the doubts and fears that were rising to the surface. But as she looked at me, I saw something else, something that gave me hope. I saw a spark of excitement, a spark of curiosity that made me think that maybe, just maybe, she was ready to accept the truth about herself. Maybe she was ready to embrace her gift, to learn how to control it, and to use it for good. Show me, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Show me what you mean. I nodded, a smile spreading across my face. I knew that this was just the beginning, that there would be more to come, more secrets to reveal, more challenges to face. But for now, in this moment, I was excited to see where this journey would take us, to see how Lily would react to the truth about herself. As I raised my hand, a soft, white light began to emanate from my fingertips. Lily's eyes widened in amazement as she watched, her face illuminated by the gentle glow. I could see the wonder in her eyes, the awe and the excitement, and I knew that this was just the beginning of an incredible journey, one that would change her life forever.